What if I told you that a Royal Butler's bombshell new book has just blown apart Prince Harry's most damaging claims about his own family? After years of silence, King Charles's former servant is finally speaking out, and his version of events completely destroys Harry's narrative about Queen Camilla's wedding day. The battle lines are drawn, the gloves are off, and this explosive royal feud just reached a whole new level. Deep within the gilded walls of Buckingham Palace, rarely seen by the public, two men who once served the same master are now locked in an unprecedented war of words. On one side stands Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, who shocked the world with his explosive 2023 memoir, Spare, painting a picture of family betrayal and stepmother scheming that reached its climax during King Charles and Queen Camilla's 2005 wedding. On the other side emerges Grant Harold, the king's former butler for 7 crucial years, wielding his own upcoming memoir like a weapon aimed directly at Harry's credibility. This isn't just another royal spat playing out in the tabloids. This is a fundamental battle over the truth itself, over what really happened behind palace doors during one of the most controversial weddings in royal history. For nearly 2 decades, the public accepted that Harry and William were reluctant witnesses to their father's second marriage, forced to endure the union with the woman they blamed for their mother's pain. But now a man who was actually there, who served their tea and witnessed their private moments, is saying Harry's version of events is nothing more than fiction. The stakes couldn't be higher. Harry's entire public persona since leaving royal duty has been built on his narrative of being the wounded son, forced to watch his father choose his mistress over his children's happiness. Meanwhile, Camilla's endured years of public scrutiny, branded as the villain who destroyed Diana's marriage and manipulated her way to the throne. But what if it was all wrong? What if the real story is far more complex than Harry's tell-all memoir suggested? Grant Harold isn't just any palace insider. He worked as a butler for Charles III from 2004 to 2011, when King Charles was Prince of Wales, giving him a front-row seat to the most intimate family dynamics during a crucial period in royal history. According to Grant Harold, who worked with King Charles, Queen Camilla, Prince Harry, and Prince William for 7 years, the brothers were seemingly thrilled for their dad on his wedding day, and there was no animosity. His upcoming book, The Royal Butler: My Remarkable Life of Royal Service, is set to shatter everything we thought we knew about the royal family's most controversial chapter. But this battle began long before Harold's book hit the shelves. The seeds were planted in January 2023, when Harry's memoir, Spare, became the fastest-selling non-fiction book in history, generating headlines that reverberated around the world. In its pages, Harry painted Camilla as a calculating manipulator who orchestrated a long game campaign to marry his father and eventually claim the crown. The prince claimed that he and William had begged their father not to marry her, pleading with Charles to simply live with Camilla without formalizing their relationship. The tension between Harry and those who served his family extends beyond Harold. Paul Burrell, Diana's former butler, has issued an urgent plea demanding Harry apologize for calling him a two-faced S in his memoir. Burrell vehemently denies Harry's allegations and insists the prince knows the court case against him collapsed when the Queen provided evidence that saved him. This creates a pattern of Harry's accounts being challenged by those who were actually present during the events he describes. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation and underlying tension as April 9th, 2005 approached. 8 years had passed since Princess Diana's tragic death in Paris, and the entire world was watching to see how her sons would handle their father's remarriage to the woman many blamed for their parents' divorce. The media had painted a picture of reluctant princes forced to endure a wedding they desperately opposed, with Harry and William cast as tragic figures supporting their father, despite their personal reservations. Charles himself was navigating uncharted waters. As the heir to the throne, his decision to marry a divorced woman carried enormous constitutional implications. The Church of England, of which he would one day be the head, had strict rules about remarriage after divorce. The compromise reached was unprecedented, a civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall, followed by a blessing at St. George's Chapel. Even Queen Elizabeth II, while supportive of her son's happiness, chose not to attend the civil ceremony, though she would be present for the religious blessing. The public narrative, shaped largely by media speculation and later reinforced by Harry's memoir, suggested that the young princes were going through the motions, putting on brave faces for their father while harboring deep resentment toward their stepmother-to-be. William, then 22, and studying at St. Andrew's University, was portrayed as the dutiful eldest son, while 20-year-old Harry was cast as the rebel still struggling with his mother's death and his father's new relationship. But according to Harold, who was present for the intimate moments away from the cameras, this narrative was completely false. The butler describes a very different scene unfolding behind palace walls in the months and weeks leading up to the wedding. Rather than tension and resentment, he witnessed what he characterizes as genuine affection and support between all 4 family members. At the end of the festivities, Charles and Camilla were catching a flight to head straight to Burke Hall on the Balmoral estate, Grant writes in his upcoming book. We all went outside to wave them off and laughed as we saw William and Harry had decorated their car with "Just Married." As they drove off through the arches to cheers, the boys raced after the car. This image of Harry and William playfully decorating their father's getaway car and racing after it with cheers stands in stark contrast to the reluctant, resentful sons described in Spare. But Harold goes even further, directly challenging Harry's central claims about the family dynamics during this period. The 4 of them, I promise you, got on so well, he explained. And that's why I don't understand what Harry said. I really don't understand. Because I saw them. I saw them having dinners together. I saw them having drinks together. I saw them going to parties together. The butler's account doesn't just contradict Harry's version of events, it completely demolishes it. Harold made it clear that if there was any strain or even awkwardness between King Charles and his sons at this time, it didn't show. In fact, Harold said that during his time serving as a butler for the royal family, he saw no animosity at all between Harry and any of his now estranged family members. Perhaps most damaging to Harry's narrative is Harold's description of Charles on his wedding day. Grant describes Charles on his wedding day to Camilla as the happiest he'd ever seen him, painting a picture of a man finally able to marry the woman he loved, surrounded by supportive family members rather than reluctant witnesses to an unwanted union. The immediate aftermath of the wedding, as described by both camps, reveals the growing chasm between Harry's version of events and that of palace insiders who were present. While Harry's memoir suggests an atmosphere of forced civility and underlying tension, Harold paints a picture of genuine celebration and family unity. The butler recalls the traditional send-off for the newlyweds, a moment that should have been filled with joy. but which, according to Harry's narrative, was tinged with sadness and resentment. Instead, Harold describes a scene of pure happiness, the Queen herself joining in the festivities, waving and smiling as Charles and Camilla departed for their honeymoon. One of my fondest memories is the Queen gathering outside with friends and family to wave the newlyweds off in the car. She was waving and smiling excitedly. She looked like any other proud mother. This description of Queen Elizabeth II, often portrayed as reluctantly accepting her son's choice, as an excited, proud mother celebrating her son's happiness, directly contradicts the narrative of family division that has dominated public perception for nearly 2 decades. It suggests that even the most traditional member of the royal family had not only accepted but embraced Charles's marriage to Camilla. The car decoration incident, which Harold describes with such fondness, becomes even more significant when viewed through this lens. Rather than a perfunctory gesture of support, it appears to have been a genuine expression of the brothers' happiness for their father. The image of Harry and William racing after the car, cheering as their father and new stepmother drove away, suggests a level of enthusiasm that simply cannot be reconciled with the claims in Spare. But the contradictions don't end with the wedding day itself. Harold's account of the broader family dynamics during his 7 years of service paints a picture of harmony that extends far beyond a single day. His descriptions of family dinners, drinks, and parties together suggest a level of closeness and mutual affection that makes Harry's later claims of feeling excluded and manipulated seem even more puzzling. The long-term repercussions of this battle between narratives extend far beyond simple historical accuracy. Harry's credibility as a truth-teller, the foundation upon which his post-royal career has been built, is now under serious attack from multiple sources who were present during the events he describes. This isn't just about competing memories or different perspectives. It's about fundamental questions of truth and fabrication. The timing of Harold's revelations is particularly significant. Coming just as Harry's relationship with his family reaches what many observers consider its lowest point, these contradictions threaten to undermine the very foundation of the Sussex brand. Harry and Meghan have positioned themselves as truth-tellers, willing to speak out against an institution that they claim silenced and marginalized them. But if Harry's version of events is demonstrably false, as Harold suggests, then their entire narrative begins to crumble. The implications extend beyond the royal family itself. Queen Camilla has been supporting King Charles III, who was diagnosed with cancer in February 2024, during one of the most challenging periods of his reign. The constant attacks on her character, largely stemming from Harry's public statements and memoir, have added unnecessary stress to an already difficult situation. If Harold's version of events is accurate, then Camilla has endured years of public vilification based on false accusations. The broader damage to the monarchy's reputation also cannot be ignored. Harry's claims have been accepted as fact by millions around the world, shaping public perception of the royal family for years. The Netflix documentaries, the Oprah interview, and the memoir have all built upon the narrative of a dysfunctional family riddled with racism, manipulation, and emotional abuse. But if key elements of this narrative are false, as Harold's account suggests, then the monarchy has suffered reputational damage based on fabricated claims. The battle between Harry and Harold represents more than just competing versions of royal history. It's a clash between two fundamentally different approaches to royal service and loyalty. Harry, having left the royal family and moved to California, has embraced a model of radical transparency, sharing intimate family details with the world in exchange for fame and fortune. Harold, by contrast, represents the traditional model of discreet service, speaking out only when he feels the truth itself is under attack. This conflict also reflects broader changes in how we consume and evaluate information in the digital age. Harry's memoir and media appearances have reached millions, shaping global perceptions of the royal family. His claims have been largely accepted at face value, with little scrutiny of their accuracy or context. Harold's account, while detailed and specific, lacks the multimedia platform that gave Harry's version such widespread reach. The legal implications of this battle should not be overlooked. Paul Burrell says Prince Harry defamed him and demands apology for two-faced Sahand statement, suggesting that Harry's memoir may have crossed the line from memoir into defamation. If other palace insiders feel similarly defamed by Harry's accounts, they may follow Burrell's lead in demanding retractions and apologies. Perhaps most tragically, this battle is playing out against the backdrop of King Charles's cancer diagnosis and treatment. Harry last saw his father over a year ago in February 2024, after Charles was first diagnosed with cancer. And even that was brief. The ongoing feud, fueled in part by these competing narratives about the past, is preventing a father and son from reconciling during what could be their final years together. The emergence of Harold's account also raises uncomfortable questions about the media's role in perpetuating false narratives. For years, journalists and royal correspondents have built stories around Harry's version of events, rarely questioning their accuracy or seeking alternative perspectives from those who were actually present. The Butler's contradictory account suggests that much of what the public believes about the royal family may be based on fabricated or heavily distorted claims. As this battle intensifies, both sides appear to be doubling down on their positions. Harry has shown no signs of backing down from his claims, while Harold and other former royal staff members seem increasingly willing to challenge his version of events publicly. The publication of The Royal Butler in late August 2025 promises to escalate this conflict further, potentially revealing even more contradictions in Harry's narrative. The ultimate resolution of this battle may depend on which version of events the public chooses to believe. Harry has the advantage of celebrity and global platform, while Harold has the advantage of having been present during the events in question without the emotional baggage that might color Harry's recollections. The truth, as always in royal affairs, may be more complex than either side admits. What remains clear is that this battle between Harry and the butler has exposed fundamental cracks in the narrative that has dominated royal coverage for years. Whether these revelations will lead to a broader re-evaluation of Harry's claims, or whether they will simply be dismissed as the complaints of disgruntled former staff, remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the war of words between Prince Harry and Grant Harold has only just begun, and the casualties may include the very concept of truth itself in the modern royal narrative. The final judgment in this battle may not come from legal courts or media investigations, but from history itself. Future biographers and historians will have to sift through these competing accounts, weighing the credibility of a prince against that of a butler, and determining which version of events deserves to be preserved for posterity. In the meantime, the royal family continues to navigate the damage inflicted by this very public war of words, wondering if the truth will ever fully emerge from the chaos of claim and counterclaim that has engulfed them. As King Charles continues his cancer treatment, and the monarchy faces an uncertain future, this battle over the truth of his wedding day serves as a stark reminder of how personal grievances can evolve into public spectacles with far-reaching consequences. The real tragedy may not be the competing versions of events themselves, but the way this conflict has prevented healing and reconciliation within a family that desperately needs both.